A big thanks to VW Mastercars Hatfield for staying with us on the journey in 2023 so far, as well as Farm Jam Hare Scramble Championship, the Franchise Co, Troy Lee Designs, Vryburg Racing, and EEP Fuel Supplies getting us out there to the events. Thanks guys, we couldn't do Hollywood without you. Hey guys, and welcome to another Hollywood Hills production. So as you saw, we took last weekend off. It's not because we don't feel the love for you guys, it's because we're getting ourselves ready to go out and do a big production. And this was for SpeedTV. So if you're a fan of the show and a fan of the channel, you saw a couple of months back, we got the tap on the shoulder from SpeedTV, which is an MTN mobile platform. And it was so much fun working with those guys. They liked what we did for the doubleheader out at Vryburg, and they gave us the big green light that we could go out to the final round at Bloemfontein to go and cover that. And obviously, that's where we've just got back from now. So we're getting ourselves ready to go into a full week and a half of editing, because it's a big situation when you go out there and film the Nationals. But this is just a taster to get you guys going. Obviously, you know that the Vryburg event went out straight onto the MTN platform. We've now got the footage back, and this is what went down to give you an idea of what we're looking forward to going forward into Bloemfontein. This was a doubleheader out in the desert at Vryburg. The South African National Cross Country Motorcycle Championship rolled into its doubleheader rounds. That's rounds 3 and 4, just outside of Vryburg. Carl, we're out of the double headers. It's like being back in the desert, isn't it?
Yeah, look, we don't have the desert anymore, but I think this comes pretty close, eh? So, yeah, we're excited for 2 days of racing.
2 days of racing counted as rounds 3 and 4. Start things out with the time trial, and then 2 huge loops of racing. It was going to be a long, hard weekend of racing in the desert. Time trial would set things up and become the most important aspect of the early running of day 1. Before the time trial, we chatted to a couple of the key players. Peter, not quite in your hood, but an area you're comfortable with.
Yeah, no, it's amazing to be back here in Vryburg. Yeah, this is where I grew up, watched Lawrence and Kenny dicing it out, so yeah, it's lekker for me. Also, the closest one to my house. So yeah, I will take it as it comes. I'm obviously not 100% with my fitness and that yet, but yeah, what can we do? Go have fun, that's all.
Derek, 125 racing time, and it's your comeback race, eh?
Yeah, Uncle Matt, I had a little bad luck on the Nationals this year so far, but it's never over until the last one, so we're going to give our best and take it as it comes.
Down on points, but if you win both of these days, you could jump up into podiums.
Yeah, if I win both of these days, anything's possible.
Wayne, interesting season so far, but you could turn it all around in these next 2 days.
Yeah, double header, it can do anything. Hey, we can win, we can lose, we can break down. You know, that's the nature of our sport. But yeah, you know, consistency is a good thing. And we all come out here, you know, with good predictions from last year, but no rain. So yeah, it changes the whole playing field, eh?
And the approach, are you going to survive today, race tomorrow? What's the plan?
Mate, we're too old for that, but we just race. Get on ride, shut up and race, eh?
Kate's coming off a big win down at KZN, but now this is Millifield racing. How are you feeling?
Feeling good, yeah, excited to give it our best and see what happens.
2 days of racing, holding something back today or what?
No, we'll try and give it our all on both days and see how it goes. Yeah, it's going to be a tough one and a bit of a push, but everyone's in the same boat.
Matty, on a burner at the moment, halfway through the season. How are you feeling about this one?
I'm feeling good, eh, Matt. It's a bit cold today, but no, I think my fitness is back up there, speed's back up there, and looking for a good day battling it out with the boys.
You know you've got to go and hammer the nail in the time trial, eh?
Yeah, the time trial's going to be important. I'm starting a bit further back now with bad results at the last 2 Nationals, but I'm going to try and hammer it and get a high placing up there so it doesn't too bad later on.
Mikey, this is like being back in the desert. You've got to be feeling pumped by this one.
No, for sure. Look, last year I didn't have the greatest round here, but I got a good feel. I know what to expect, and I'm keen. I'm itching for the big number 1 now. I want it, and I'm feeling a bit nervous. The nerves are here, so let's get it.
You've got to come banging out the gate. You've got to get a good time trial.
For sure. It's time trial is key, and I know we've been around for years. We're going to hit it hard and make the most, see what we can do.
early morning sun to the east. Dav Cocker, the championship overall points leader and leader in the OR2s, was first man out into the big ball. Dust was going to be a big problem, as Brad Cox was the first rider to find out, going straight into the sun and the dust, chased down by his KTM factory teammate, Kieran Fitzgerald. Mikey Pentecost, eyes on the prize, knew exactly what he had to do. He's had a tough run so far coming into this round, and he went straight out into the sun, into full attack mode. Brad, you're in great shape for the championship, great shape for all your rally racing, and now it's a double header in the desert. You've got to be pumped.
Yeah, I'm always stoked to come back here. Last year was amazing here, so yeah, hoping just to repeat that. But I mean, a bit different conditions. Last year we had rain, soft sand. Today we had dust, low sun, and hard pack actually. So no, I mean, stoked to be here. Stoked to be back with the team. It's been a while since I've raced here, so.
How do you play a game like this? Do you like hold back a little bit day one and then give it everything day two? But I know you, it's everything both days.
Yeah, it's full attack. If you head up here, you get smoked. So full attack both days, and see how we play it.
Ryan, back into cross country, and you came back for the big one.
Yeah, completely not what I expected at all. We've just done the time trial. The sun's pretty much just come up. I would say half of the course we were riding directly into the sun, and first for me, it was quite dusty. I will be honest, I struggled a lot. I went off the track multiple times, but stayed on the bike, made it through, and I know what to expect in the race when it starts. Sun will be above us, and hopefully there's some wind, it will be a bit better.
Jazz, nothing like a lastminute.com to come and do a double header, hey?
Yeah, I had to come back. Vryburg on the calendar again. I was bummed I missed it last year, so I had to make a plan to get here this year.
Yeah, man. And on a Husky, how does she feel? Because I know you've had no time.
She's good, eh? Yeah, no time at all, but it's been cool. Getting used to, getting to grips. Time trial this morning, super dusty, straight into the sun. Probably saw 3 kilometers of the 20k loop, but that's how it is. So it's going to be a long day, just eating away at it.
This is nice rally training, because I know you're always looking for seat time. Anything you could do to get on the bike.
100%, you know, and the guys at Husqvarna have come to the party. Bike's feeling really good. Really grateful to be a part of the team and be racing again.
And Mikey, how's this? Some sprint rally training?
It's good, honestly. That's why I came out here for this race. You know, it's a double header, 2 days racing, and it's perfect training for the rallies.
A little bit gnarly start to this morning, eh?
Yeah, it was brutal. I mean, like, we started riding as soon as the sun's coming up, and then the dust was just insane. So, like, we're going quarter throttle down the straights, but hopefully it can open up and be a little bit better. I will start a little bit more up front in the race, so yeah, looking forward to a good day.
Just ticking off the miles this weekend, eh?
Exactly, yeah. Just trying to get back into racing and getting ready for all the rallies soon.
Lukey, you're in great shape for the championship. How are you feeling about this big banger?
Yeah, I'm excited. It was my first time racing here, and going into time trial is a bit nervous, but after time trial I'm feeling more confident. I know the conditions now, so yeah, I'm really excited to get racing.
You know, everyone's gunning for you, but you know, on a double header, you could win or lose the championship this weekend.
Yeah, well, I always go out and just try to be as smooth as possible and as quick as possible without hurting myself. So being a double header, don't want to hurt myself today, and then it affects my race tomorrow. So yeah, just be smooth all weekend and hopefully come out with good points.
You worried about Karam because you know this is his house?
Yeah, it's his house, but racing's racing, so anything can happen, and yeah, I'm not too worried.
So that was it. The morning time trial done and dusted to decide the racing order for the rest of day one in the desert of Vryburg. Dust was definitely going to be the story of the day. At the end of play, it was Dav Cocker that went fastest, so he would have pole position when the flag dropped. On this section, we focus in on the junior categories out at the Vryburg National Championship doubleheader with the 85s and 65s going at it. We chatted to Vian and Carl about the tracks.
Yeah, so look, I haven't been too involved in the track, but I mean, Vian and the guys, the KZN racing team has been out here for a couple of weeks getting the track together. There's 100 Ks of track, so it's quite an effort from them. Yeah, we're excited. I think it's going to be pretty much what we can expect out here. You know, it's flat, bit of shrub, bit of thorn, and flat out. So looking for a good weekend.
Good entry for the juniors, and obviously this is going to be pivotal for the championship.
Yeah, look, I mean, obviously the juniors is where it counts. You know, we're really excited that those numbers are growing. Big dates. You know, we've helped a lot of guys get here, promoted them to do nationals, and I think we're on the right track.
Junior track is 18.5 kilometers in length, and yeah, it's tight and twisty in some sections, but they're going to go straight up the pit lane and then hook a right down the other side of the pit lane, through a fence, up. You know, for the people in the pits, it looks like it's just straight lines. For them, day one is faster, but day two will be a bit more twisty for them.
The cool thing for the kids is they're out there racing on a similar kind of track and a similar kind of terrain as their heroes. Championship points leader Murray Smith from KZN made the big trip up to Vryburg and was the first man out on championship standings, ahead of Franco Ferri, Bruno Nibua and Mackenzie Bam, all going out to see what they could do. John Bart Maritz was also in a very good position for the championship, as well as Drickus van der Merwe, starting to show what he can do on the National Series. We went out onto the track after all the kids cleared the gate to catch up on the positions. On the 65cc gate, Caden Denton had to retire after just 2 laps of racing. That allowed Travis Levy from the Moto Klerksdorp team to get himself up there into a number 8 position. The track was extremely fast for the junior riders on day number 1, stretching the cables and the motorcycle's capabilities. Joshua Fotheringham was able to walk away with a number 7 finish, with Campbell Duprier, one of the 50cc long wheelbase machines, getting it done inside of the top 6, just using the nationals to gain a little bit more heavy experience going out onto the big tracks with the key riders. The campaigns had come in force at the doubleheader round, and Alexander had walked away with a number 5 finish, with the usual campaigners inside of the top 4. For Rubine Racing, Wilco de Ploy put his Yamaha up into 4th place. Looked like he battled a little bit in the early part of the day in the thick sand. Jean-Luc van der Westhuizen loves this format of racing, but he was surprised to get beaten late on in the day and get knocked down to a number 3 finish. He's still in a good position as far as the championship goes though. But it was this guy, Roald Potgieter, from Bloemfontein and from the motocross tracks, came out of nowhere and caught a lot of people napping as he moved up into a number 2 finish. His first national cross-country ever. But on the championship points leader, Pierre Kutsia, also from the Middelburg area, looks like he is running away with this title. Another win, more points on the top of the plate for the J130 of Kutsia. Day 1 was his. That's the 65s. Let's check out the big kids on the 85s. Bryson Daister was good enough to get it inside of a number 10 ride, and he stayed on the lead lap as well, tagging 6 laps on the count. In the early running, he was locked in a huge dice with Jake Pretorius and Liam Skippers. Skippers, who's looked great on the domestic championship tour, as well as the regionals, had a bad day at the office, dropping down to a number 9 ride for the Honda Franchise Co. sleepover team. For the Pepsi Plastics factory Kawasaki's, it was Jake the Snake Pretorius with a number 8, also battling to find his form in the early running in the sand. A lot of the kids have not seen tracks as wild and as fast as this in their racing careers. Nicole Smith was out there inside of a number 7 with AJ Lowe, losing the peak of his Leard helmet in the early stages of the event, going full cannonball, and eventually walking away with a number 6 ride come the end of the day. John Bart Maritz on the Kawasaki had gone for an interesting fueling strategy. We've seen him roll out the extender tank that he runs on his number board, and the 177 once again was able to benefit from that, not having to fuel as much as the rest of the kids and getting himself up to a number 5 ride. Franco Ferri on the Roost KTM squad was doing great numbers. He came into this round looking very good on championship points in a number 2 spot, but today with some very hard competition, eventually dropping down to a number 4 ride. Drickus van der Merwe for the VW Mastercars Hatfield squad, the biggest kid on the gate himself and Bruno Niebuhr fighting out to see who can dwarf these little bikes. The best, Drickus having his best ever national ride, taking it to a number 3. Perhaps a little bit too aggressive for Bruno Niebuhr as he went into full attack mode on day 1 at Vryburg for the Vryburg Racing squad on the J500. He was one of only 2 riders to go on a 7-lap count. That's busy and very fast times coming in for our top 2 juniors. The rest tagging a 6-lap racing account. But Murray Smith, the kid from KZN who has literally gone undefeated on the season, every single event he has entered, be it a KZN event or GXCC or a national, he is the kid to beat, and he proved it once again out here on day 1 at Vryburg. After the race, we chatted to Murray and a couple of the rest of the kids to see how their days went.
Murray, man, it's like you were in time trial mode the whole time out there. Tell me how the track came to you.
I was very rough in the beginning, and then after that it was kind of flowing, so once I got my rhythm, I just booked it.
I tell you what, you are totally mechanically unsympathetic. You never lifted once down those straights, did you?
No. Only when I was tired. Yeah, but it was a very good race. Very nice track.
Ruled, tell me about that race, because you caught a few guys out there.
Yeah, it was nice, but the braking bumps and stuff was very hard, and it was tough to do it because it was very thick sand. Yeah.
You came on strong at the end, though. So
Yeah.
Where's that? Motocross?
Yeah, motocross.
A lot of motocross training. You're a sand specialist, obviously.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're here for the national. Are you going to be lining up tomorrow?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Caitlin, day 1 in the desert. Tell me how your day was.
It was really great. The track was amazing. The straights were awesome. And I love the track. It was an awesome day.
No, you just got to do it again tomorrow, eh?
Yeah.
JL, first day in the desert. How'd it go?
Yeah, it was very bumpy. I love the sand. But the guy with the Kawasaki was too fast. But I enjoyed it. The dust was also crazy. There was a lot of lurkers though, but it was good.
Any changes to the setup on the bike for tomorrow?
No, I'm gonna leave it like that. It's just fun.
Mac, great to see you out there ripping it. Tell me about your day.
The first lap was really good. The track was amazing, especially the sand track. But the second lap, my spark plug blew. And yeah, it took a while to get that back. And yeah.
So you picked up some good dices out there.
Yeah.
What about tomorrow? Just a quick rebuild on the bike and then we do it again.
Yeah, hopefully it'll be better tomorrow.
Fast day, so a lot of repair work going in the overnight session. Here's confirmation of Smitty getting the win over Niebuhr, Van der Merwe, Fourie and Maritz, making it inside the top 5. But a lot of bikes taking massive strain on day 1 in the desert. In the 65cc gate, Geerje Coetzee runs off the front once again. Potgieter was a surprise package, beating out on Van der Vestes and Deploy and Compan, with Dupriya, the best of the small wheel 50cc's, down in a number 6. That was the juniors, and that was day 1 in the desert. In this section, we concentrate on day number 1 in the desert of Vryburg, the first of a double header of weekend racing for the National Championship cross-country motorcycle races. High school, senior and masters. And after the debrief, it was time to get nervous. We chatted to Kyle about how important a double header is.
Kyle, as far as the senior motorcycles go, this is an absolutely award-winning championship right now. Tell me how you're feeling about it.
Yeah, look, I mean, obviously, besides the commission and stuff, I am involved in a race team, so I mean, yeah, this is kind of the main one of the season. You know, if you do well here or don't do well here, it kind of makes or breaks it. It's very close. You know, the top 10 guys are really fast, like it was in the old days, so it's pretty cool. I think anybody can win it here today. You know, it's just you've got to be smooth and keep going. But yeah, it's exciting. At the end of this weekend, we'll kind of know who's in it for the championship down in Bloem.
As far as the manufacturers goes, there's a bit of a war happening right now. It's Austria versus Japan.
Yeah, look, it's awesome, you know, to have the Japanese brands back. They've got some big names on the bikes, which is obviously making it exciting. I think it can only do good for the sport, you know. It's the right thing, and we want more manufacturers to come. You know, if Yamaha and Suzuki and those guys can also come back into the fray, it'll be great.
At 11 o'clock on day 1 in the desert, first rider went out of the gate. Dav Cocker, who had qualified fastest, would have clear air with the rest of the riders chasing down into his dust. The day was going to be a long one. It looked like the riders were going to be going 5 laps plus, giving them well over 300 kilometers of racing in the desert dust of Vryburg. Fian takes us through the course and conditions.
Let's talk about the senior loop then. We've got all the mana here. Everyone has geared their bikes. Everyone's putting sand tires on. Is it the right call? Tell me about the loop.
Yeah, 51 Ks, long distance, not too long, but I mean for a national, perfect length. You know, they're going to go out and do twists and turns in the bush. Then it opens up, it gets really fast. In the middle, there's another bushy section where they're going to go through, and then it's thick sand. I mean, speaking about tires, I don't know if a paddle tire is the right thing. I know last year a lot of the guys used it, sand tires. I don't know if it's at this particular time of the year, if it's the right thing. But yeah, we'll have to see who comes out on top and who says that it worked and who didn't.
Vryburg, a classic race venue. The Masters going out there. Anthony van der Waalt, who's in his comeback season, riding on the Sherco, dropping down to a number 5. Really battled in the early running, but seemed to come to life late on in the day to improve his pace. 4 laps was a big ask though for the Masters. The Viking, as he's known, riding out of CIT Franchise Co. Sleepover Honda, Kobus Jonk, had a tough first day in the desert, dropping down to a number 4. Just could not find his magic groove. Inside of the top 3 at the end of day number 1, Mealy's Carl Leroux got it done out of KZN. Knows this terrain well. He's an old school racer, and he brought the big KTM out to feed up to a podium. Wayne Farmer decided to bring out Old Faithful, his 300cc smoker of a Husqvarna, and went for the sand tire. May not have been the right move on day number 1, with conditions surprisingly hard packed. Farmer down to a number 2, but that's good points on the plate for him. Peter Hall has had an incredible season so far on the Pepsi Plastics Racing Kawasaki 450. Another win gets him 1 day closer to wrapping up his national title once again. In the high school category, for our younger racers out there on smaller capacity 125cc machines, Cameron Farrell did a good job out there on the Nationals on his first time of racing the Nationals inside of a number 10, with Alex Strobler climbing the ladder into a number 9. It's so cool to see great numbers coming in at the national gate for the high school 125ers, making it a very big task to understand who is going to be walking away with wins or podiums at each of the racing rounds. Some are sand specialists, some are good at hard pack, and some are good at absolutely everything. The everything numbers are inside of the top 5. Michael Strook was a number 8 with Nathan Westerdale, doing a good job of racing inside of a top 7. He's been doing a lot of GXCC racing, trying to understand the format of the big shows. Rory Dolson climbed the ladder up inside of a number 6, so he got some good points on the plate as well, as he also attacks his first full 125 National Championship cross-country tour. Brandon Clark, he has been one of our upstarts coming out of all of the junior categories, just coming off his first ever GXCC club and regional overall win 1 week ago. Top 5 at the national. He'd have been hoping for a little bit more than that, but day 1 just didn't suit his riding style. Tommy Scales, also a junior who's been climbing the ladder nicely, developing well. The top 4 will also keep him in the hunt for his championship aspirations. He's been banging podiums all season long. He wouldn't have been happy to have to step out of the top 3. But at this round, Blake Young really looked like he was on one. The motocross kid, the aggression, the intensity, and the style of track definitely played into his wheelhouse. 3rd place and his highest ever national championship finish. The top 2 riders on day 1 in the desert for the high school 125 class, Luke Walker and Derek Karam. These were the only 2 dudes to go onto a 6-lap race account. Luke Walker was strong, but on this terrain, it's all about Derek Karam. He's familiar with this kind of terrain. He took the wins at this event last year when it was a little bit more greasy. Now it's dry. Karam and the Motos Bergstorp Yamaha YZ125 climb to the top once again to get his championship back on track. In the seniors, it was super cool to see a couple of Dakar adventure style machines going out there, full rally raid style. Ronnie Fenter, who is headed to Dakar, along with his good buddy Dwayne Barnard in the early part of 2024, they were out there trying to burn some laps and understand how these big girls handle the rough terrain of Vryburg. Ronnie Fenter in a number 6, Dwayne Barnard into a number 5. Marco Cocci, who is also trying to get his championship challenge in the senior category at the National Series back on track. A big crash at the midpoint of the race slowed his roll. He would only be able to recover to a number 4 spot on the Schumwells Yamaha. Also coming back from an injury picked up at the previous round down at KZN, riding out of Franchise Co. CIT Sleepover Honda, Bernard Dalport did a good job of work on day number 1 to get it inside of a top 3. It was old school rules out there the whole way through the day, as Lawrence Mahoney is now back into full national championship cross-country racing, also getting picked up by the factory Honda racing squad. 2nd place on the day, but he said he could definitely improve on day number 2. He loves this kind of terrain. But Kieran Fitzgerald, after qualifying well inside of the top 3 in the time trial and positioned high in the overalls for the national championship rankings coming into this event, he was the runaway leader and hammered the nail for another victory on day 1. Another checkered flag. And 3 categories done for day 1.
Laurie, classic old school fast pace.
Yeah, man, geez, I forgot how tough this area is. But what a joy. It brought back so many memories. I mean, I had my first overall win here at this exact venue. So it was very special for me, and I enjoyed every single minute. Very rough, very, very rough. A lot of dust. Dust was a problem today. Couldn't get to the guy in front of you. So you just had to sit there and wait for him to make a mistake. But overall, what a joy. What a joy. Tomorrow we get to do it again.
Tell me in your career how the bikes have changed and how things have, I don't know, maybe got faster, a bit easier, I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. Bikes have gotten better. I'm on the Honda now. What a machine. Honestly, I can see why they race the Bar 1000 and all those fast American races with a Honda. It's so stable. It's a motocross bike, so it's a nice and aggressive bike. But yeah, it works so well on this terrain. But yeah, I had a smile on my face from the word go. After time trial this morning, dust was bad, sun in your eyes, but I still had a joy. So it's good to be here.
Hey Peter, was Roddy in practice for this then or what?
Yes. Roddy had long, deep roots. This was like braking bumps all the time. My arms are shot and my back is shot, but it was nice. I enjoyed it. I must say, yeah, it's lekker.
I saw you out there. Like time trial was very key for this one, though, wasn't it?
It was key because obviously dust plays a big role here. But I'm happy to got the time trial first. But the dust lies down quickly, so it's not that big of an issue. But yeah, it was key.
What are you going to do to prepare for tomorrow now?
I have to get the time trial first again.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I think I must go lay down and rest a bit. But yeah, I just want to say thanks to Ian and the Pepson team and Kawasaki. Yes, I must enjoy. I enjoy the bike a lot, and they really put an effort in to get everything ready and right. So yeah, Ian really, I can really say that this race won was Ian's work. So yeah.
Wayne, like you said, you saved the 300 for the weekend. How's she going?
Yeah, they've changed the route since last year, but in the tight stuff she handles nicely. But down the long straights, I'm like, oh, where's my 450? The thing is screaming. And I'm like, please don't break. But otherwise, she was pretty cool.
I'm loving the color of the pipe, by the way.
Yeah,
She's gone blue.
That thing's been held flat. I've been chasing the whole day. But yeah, the dust is quite hectic. And it's getting really, really nice now. The guys on the 6th lap now, they're getting better. That 4th lap with us is crazy.
It all came down to time trial, though, today, didn't it? Because it was hard to make the passes.
Yeah, no, it's not easy. With the dust, you can catch up to somebody, but you make one little mistake and they pull their gap on you. And when you go in the same speed as the other guy, you try to close the gap in the dust, and you're hitting things and it's not comfortable.
It's like F1 at the moment, walking down the pits with the tyre choice. Was the paddle tyre the right one?
Paddle tyre was good, but it's a lot of hard work. It really hooks up. But I think tomorrow I run normal tyre. You know, it's a lower profile, so you hit everything a lot harder. But it pulls, but a lot of work.
Derek, you're looking sore, but you're going to be happy with the win, eh?
Yeah, of course. I knew I had to pull through, and when they told me I had to do another lap, yes, wasn't lekker, but yeah, we pulled through and we we brought it home in the top spot.
Long first day in the desert. Tell me about how the yammy was singing.
Yeah, this bike was just handling like a dream. I couldn't ask for anything better. I just want to thank Henderson Racing Products, Tom View from Motorslaagstop, my mom and dad, and Gerrio from Schweizer for making it possible for me to do what I love.
Let's catch up with the confirmation of the finishers in the seniors, masters and high schools. Fitzgerald taking the win on day one ahead of Mahoney, Delport, Kochi, Barnard and Fenter, with Smitty down in a number 7. Derek Karam in his house takes the win ahead of Walker, Blake Young, Scales and Clarkey, with Donaldson just outside the magic top 5 inside of a top 6. And then in the masters category, it was all about Peter Hall hammering the nail, pretty much academic. The next day, he would just have to get a top 5 finish and win the title. Farmer was his closest rival on day one, ahead of LaRue, Jonk and Van der Walt. In this section, we'll be focusing in on the pro and overall categories from day number 1 in the desert of Vryburg. That's round number 3 of the South African National Championship Cross Country Racing Series. In the OR3s, in old money, that's the 200cc category, Kobus Bester had a rough day in the desert, managing only a top 10 finish, showing that things did go wrong. He'd be hoping for a better day on day number 2, round number 4 of the series. Sander van der Linden had a lot of local support out there. He knows this terrain extremely well, and he had one of his best ever national rides to bring it into single digits into a number 9. Callum Broski for the factory Husqvarna squad had been brought in from the motocross tracks. The motocross training and intensity showed that he has what it takes to go cross-countrying. We've seen him come into a couple of the GXCCs, and he did a good job of work to finish inside of a number 8, just one position back from the true factory Husqvarna cross-country signing that is Ryan Peltzer. 7th place, Peltzer wouldn't have been happy with that one. In fact, himself and John Buerter were the last 2 riders that had to go out and complete 6 arduous laps of this tough and testing terrain, with John Buerter for the Honda Racing Squad coming out on top. Tyron Beverly, who has been coming on extremely well in the 2023 running of the regional and national championship campaigns, kept his name right up there with a sterling ride into the top 5. Hayden Cole was up the road from him, taking a 4th place ride, coming off a national championship win at the previous round. 4th place is where we end our journey in the OR3s, as the rest of the top 3 made it into the magical top 10 overall. We move forward then into the OR2 category. Most of these guys running out there on 350cc 4-stroke machinery. T. Karua on the MCA gas machine had one of his best ever national rides inside of a number 8, with Terry Lynn Hodge a little bit higher up the road. Amazing job for Terry Lynn, her best ever national ride. Unfamiliar terrain for her out there on the 2-stroke Shoko. Inside of a top 6 for Ruban Racing was Jean Niebuhr. He really battled to get a good run going in the time trial, blinded by the sun and the dust in the early stages of the event, and couldn't make the passes out there to climb the ladder. He was in a dice all day long with Francois van der Favre. Van der Favre coming out on top as far as that battle went, taking his best ever national championship ride with a number 5 finish. Up the road from those two was the fastest lady out there, Leah Haygate. Same as Terry Lynn Hodge, with no ladies championship racing. They've got to go up against the best of the boys and often beat them. Haygate walking away with a number 4 ride. Captain Consistency himself, Carl Egger, gets another podium finish with 3rd place. That's going to keep him in the championship hunt as he tries to walk away with the top 3 in the series come the end of the day. He was 3rd. The top 2 in the OR2s made it inside of the top 10. In the OR1 Big Bangers, Sharon Moore unfortunately having a burst radiator, finding one of the droppers out there on the course and having to retire the factory Husqvarna down to a number 8 ride. Charles Reinhard Kurtzop got one of his best rides at the National Championship in a number 7 ride, with Johannes Jacobus van Rensburg taking a number 6. That was a huge story for an unranked rider. 5th on the day went to Gareth Cole, who unfortunately picked up an injury on the day as well. Huge problems with his thumb as he went out there onto the course to survive day 1. He'd be no-show in day number 2. He dropped outside of the top 10 in the overalls The rest of the OR1s were inside the magic top 10 overall. That's where we're heading next. The Pinners on day number 1. We'll start things out with Peter Karam. He got 10th place, and he also walked away with a 3rd place in the OR3 category. He knows this terrain extremely well, and he is on the comeback trail, having a big lie down at National Championship round number 1, a no-show at round number 2. Karam trying to get his entire season turned around here in Vryburg. His rival on the OR3 gate, Eric Merry, riding out of the Bikers Warehouse on the 250cc version of the Honda CRF, has had an amazing season so far and showed his form once again, taking a 9th place overall and 2nd in the OR3 category. Merry's on a burner, but the guy to beat on the 200cc category, which is the OR3s, riding out of the Brother Leadertread factory KTM squad, is once again Matty Wilson. This guy is trying to nail down yet another national title before moving up into the OR2s, which is possibly on the cards for next year. He got an 8th place finish in the overalls and took the win in the OR3 category. Up the road, you start breaking into the OR1s, OR2s, and one very fast senior. Doherty was back from his Desert Rat Challenge racing, putting in some mileage for the factory Husqvarna squad. He'll have been reasonably happy with walking away with a 4th place in the OR1s and a top 7 in the overalls. Ian Rawl, the brawler, was back on Austrian equipment once again, picking up a gas just 2 weeks ago, dusting it off at a GXCC and then ripping the bars off for MCA. Out here in the desert on day 1 at Vryburg, Rawl walking away with 3rd place in the OR1s and a top 6 in the overalls. Up the road from him, an incredible story where we saw Scotty H, that's Scotty Haygate, racing in the OR2 category. He got a 2nd in that category and walked away with a top 5 for the Brother Leadertread factory KTM squad. Haygate is in great form this season. Mike Pentecost unfortunately came into this round with a knee injury. So day number 1 was always going to be a big ask. A rough qualifier put him down in the dust, but he still managed to walk away with a 4th on the day and 2nd in the Big Banger OR1s to hang on to 2nd in the championship as well. Third place, once again, the fastest senior out there. Multiple motocross champion riding out of the factory Brother Leadertread KTM squad. Kieran Fitzgerald takes another top 3 in the overalls and the 1st senior by a long way. Up the road, the 2 guys that are dicing it out to try and be overall cross-country champions, but also win out in their respective categories. Brad Cox, fresh off winning a rally event out there in China, came straight back, swung a leg on the 450 machine, and takes 1st in the OR1s and 2nd in the overalls. On the day though, it was going to be very difficult to beat this guy. He is hammering the nail. He is almost undefeated on the season and the championship. Dav Cocker on the South African factory Husqvarna 350cc machine went pole in the morning, was untouchable in the race, and he takes another overall and another win as he heads towards a title in the OR2s. He was the king of day 1 at Vryburg. We chatted to him and the rest of the swingers after the event.
Dav, I know it was a win, but a tough win at that, eh?
Yeah, today it was a good day, but I wasn't feeling great the whole day. Most of the race, my stomach was giving me problems. Thought the track I really loved though, and the bike was feeling awesome. Last 2 laps got really rough, but it was rough for everyone. So yeah, I'm happy with the day, and hopefully I'll start feeling a bit better for tomorrow because it wasn't really good.
Brad, day 1 in the desert, take us through it.
No, it was good. I mean, obviously qualifying was quite important this morning, and it was just the sun and the dust. So kind of where we started, where we finished qualifying. Dav, obviously we left 45 seconds ahead of me, and the first lap he really put down a good lap, and I struggled a bit, like just in the tight stuff. I just had no rhythm, but it came back like lap 2, 3. I started clawing my way, and yeah, I mean, I managed to close it quite a bit on the last lap, but it's not enough. So anyway, tomorrow we're all safe and healthy, and yeah, tomorrow we full attack again. But no, bike was amazing, team was great, so forward to day 2.
Kieran, brother, 3rd place overall, another podium overall, and of course you're trying to get this championship wrapped up nice and tight You're on your way.
Yeah, it was wasn't too bad. Track was pretty bumpy from last year still, and we all came here with this mentality of it's going to be sand, but it wasn't sand. It was quite hard back underneath. A little bit of sand on the top, but not really sand. So I was hoping more motocross style, but here's what it is, sand for everybody. And yeah, I had fun. Towards the end, it started getting a bit long, and Mark nearly caught me sleeping out there, so I had to put in a last half of that push, and yeah, we are. Yeah.
All right, Matty, tell me a story.
Yeah, time trial didn't go to plan, got 5th in class and like 11th overall, so it was a dusty day. Got a good jump going behind Kobus and Hayden and Eric and everyone, and then was able to pass Kobus early on and Hayden early on. Eric had a good race with Eric, it was good fun, very dusty. So able to get around him on the 2nd or 3rd lap, and then I caught up to Peter for 1st, and we also had a good race, and then passed him and then checked out for a bit. But man, this Vryburg track got rough. It ate me a bit, I won't lie. So towards the last day, the last lap, very tired, but came away with the win and can't complain.
So early night and some panel beating before tomorrow, hey?
Oh yes, yeah, big early night. Yeah.
Eric, the 250s is my favourite, it's your favourite, but man, it's hard to get those podiums, eh? Tell me about your day.
Yes, the class is really competitive. We were swapping out positions the whole day. But very long day. I'm froze, honestly. It was never ending. We thought we were going to do 4 laps. We ended up doing 6. So it was very, very tiring.
Confirmation of the top 10, Dav Cocker getting the win ahead of Cox, Fitzgerald, Pentecost and Haygate. And then it was down to Rawle, Doherty, Wilson, Merry and Karam. A nice mixture of 4 different categories inside the top 10 in the overalls. In the OR1, focused on Cox getting the win ahead of Pentecost. That's the dice for the championship. Rawle starting to come into play with Doherty and Cole inside of the top 5. OR2s, no big surprise, taking the overall and the category win in the OR2s. Dav Cocker beating out on Haygate, Egger. Haygate, that's Leah Haygate. So brother and sister inside of the top 4. What a story. And then in the OR3s, one of the tightest championships on the cards at the moment, Wilson gets it over Merry, Karam, Cole and Beverly, with John Buerta just breaking inside of the top 6. So that was day 1 in the desert, and that's a wrap of round number 3 of the South African Cross Country Motorcycle Championship in 2023. The next day, the riders would have to do it all over again on a different course and a different layout for day 2 in the desert. It's day number 2 in the desert for the second day of the double header for the national round of the South African Motorcycle Championship. Yesterday was round number 3 and it was a long, tough day on riders, bikes, bodies and minds. Everyone's gone to bed and everyone has woken up. Not as cold today as well, but we know it's going to get dry, dusty and super long as the day gets into its stride. The championships could well be decided here today, but for now we get ourselves ready and we tip our hats to the mechanics who work through the night to make sure our boys can get back onto the line. The morning session on day number 2 in the desert, as it was on day number 1, was all about the time trial, but we moved the timeline out by 1 hour, so the ball in the sky was a little bit higher when Dav Cocker opened up our racing account, followed by the rest of the national senior competitors. The morning session would set them off out onto what was the junior loop from yesterday's race. So the track was nicely run in and all the riders posted extremely fast and, more importantly, very close times, meaning when we went main racing it was going to be elbows up and much closer than the day before. Tired bodies, tired bikes, but once again this was national championship racing. This was round number 4 of the 2023 championship underway. The riders weren't feeling the fatigue from yesterday just yet, but that would no doubt be kicking in. After the time trial, it was time to focus down onto the juniors. Now, the juniors would be using most of the time trial section that the seniors ran the day before. So once again, for the kids, it was going to be a much more technical day behind the bars. Day number 1 was wide open, lots of high-speed straights and deep sand. Day number 2 was going to be much more bush, much more technical, and much more demanding. Most of the riders made it to the gate on day number 2. And once again, Murray Smith would be the main man. He'd run clear air for at least lap 1 and 2 until the rest of the competitors started to go into the lap down scenario. Murray looking to wrap up his championship here on day number 4 of the series. His closest rivals, once again, would be Franco Ferri, Bruno Niebuhr, and Drickus van der Merwe, to see if they could knock off his perfect score, because up until now, it's been the Murray Smith show. For the 65cc's, we'd also be keeping an eye on Geir Kutsia to see if he could edge ever closer to his first ever national title also.
The juniors are going to go out on the lap that the seniors did for the time trial. So it's tight and twisty in the beginning, and just when they think it's going to get fast, then they're going to cut back through another twisty section. A few straights here and there, thick sand. Obviously, the seniors being out there, they would have charted up already. So the juniors are going to have a bit of a choppy one, tight and twisty, definitely not as fast as today.
Definitely not as fast as day number 1, but like Vian says, was going to be a little bit more tech, a little bit more testing. We might see slightly different results. Trav Levy once again finished his second round of the double headers in a number 9 spot. This is his first time out at the Nationals this year. So cool to see him cutting his teeth. He'll be getting ready to go on full attack mode into 2024. Up the road from him was Caden Denton, trying to see if he could climb the ladder, with Josh Fotheringham and Alexander Compan getting it up inside of the top 6. Cam Dupree was once again inside of the top 5, and the first of the fast 50s with the long swing-ons and the slightly bigger wheels, just getting himself used to cross-country racing at the Nationals. JL, that's John-Luc van der Westhuizen from Vans Racing on the Husky, went down super hard on lap number 1 and just couldn't shake off the crash after that. Wasn't riding like his fast self, and unfortunately dropped down to a low by his standards number 4 ride. He'll bounce back when we go into Bloemfontein for the final round though. That man Velko Deploy was up there inside of a number 3. So he jumped up 1 position from day number 1. And the Vryburg Racing rider on the Yami looked like he gelled a little bit better on the day 2 conditions. Ruel Parkita was the surprise package of day number 1. The motocross kid out of Bloemfontein on the Kawasaki, catching a lot of riders napping on day number 1, and he did the same thing on day number 2 with a rock solid number 2 finish. But it's Geir Kutsia who is just edging ever closer to a national championship and the big number 1 plate. 2 wins in the desert. Moving forward then into the 85s, John Bart Maritz, who was able to run inside of the high single digits on day number 1, had issues on day number 2, only completing 1 lap. The bike unfortunately saying no more, and this is what we saw with a couple of the machines. Mackenzie Bam, her normally unstoppable KTM, having some faults on day number 2. She also retired with just 2 laps counted, only scoring points for 9th place. Liam Skeepers just didn't gel with the desert this time around. Remember, it's only his first season in racing on the 85s and his first season of racing the Nationals. But unfortunately, he's going to have to work on his form and his setup going forward into the rest of the campaign and towards next year. Jake the Snake Pretorius also battled with the conditions, especially on day number 2 in the desert. But he got the Pepsi Plastics Cower up to a number 7. He got some points on the plate. Drickus van der Merwe had a really good day of it on day number 1. He likes to swing off the back and just hang cable. A little bit more tech and testing for Drickus. A couple of small mistakes, a couple of little fallovers, and that held him back. You had to have a perfect run on day number 2. Drickus on the VW Mastercars Hatfield KTM dropping down to a number 6 ride this time around, meaning Nicole Smith getting up inside of a number 5. So a couple of positions changing between days 1 and 2 in the desert. I can tell you this though, the kids were really toughing it out there and getting tired early on. AJ Lowe, the cannonball from day number 1, having an early fallover. That was pretty early on in the race as well. fatigue on the riders and the bikes was definitely starting to show. 5 laps counted for the kids that made it inside of a top 8 on the countdown. Franco Free, who came into this round, or this double-header round of the championship, sitting in a number 2 spot in the championship, has had to take a 3rd place finish on day number 1 and another 3rd place finish on day number 2. So the battle for 2nd place in the championship has really come to life in the desert. Free was in great shape though, solid and consistent the whole way through the racing weekend. Bruno Niebuhr, it definitely looked like day number 2 suited his style, although he is a man of many talents. He likes to go wide open fast, and he's got the muscular stature to be able to throw the Vryburg racing machine around on the tech zones as well. 2nd place, staying on the lead lap. Niebuhr looking in good shape for his title aspirations. He won't be able to catch this guy, but the fight for 2nd place is definitely on. Murray Smith arriving at the start line on day number 2 in the desert, round 4 of the South African title chase, able to wrap up the big number 1. He got it done. He never saw any other junior the whole way through the racing weekend, or the season for that matter. And the man riding out of Franchise Co. CIT Sleepover Honda got it done as the flag dropped on day 2 at Vryburg. We caught up with Murray and a couple of top juniors after the race.
Murray, man, yesterday it was 5th gear pins. Today it was, what, 3rd and 4th most of the day?
Yeah, it was. We were changing between 3rd and 4th. It was quite tight. There were a couple open sections. It was a very, very bumpy track that really worked your arms and legs, but yeah.
You can thank all the seniors for that. They ripped that thing up bad.
Yeah, they did a nice job. The track was quite bad. You really had to concentrate every step of the way.
What did you prefer, yesterday or today?
Definitely yesterday.
Bruno, 2 good days at the office. Take me through it.
The first day was fun. The track was nice. Everything. I came 2nd. Murray won me with 41 seconds, and today, get a big guys. I don't want to let him run the track before us because yeah, it was rough. Very rough. But hopefully I won today, but we will see on times.
You look much more comfortable today. Have you changed the setup on the bike or what?
We just tuned the suspension a little bit.
Wilco, tell me about your day today. You look like you were running much better.
Ja, die bearingpyp moet ek vervang want gister het ek op die net op staal gehardloop sonder bearing.
Let's confirm it then. Your new national 85cc champion is Murray Smith with another win on day number 2 in the desert, beating out Niebuhr, Fourie, Lowe, Schmidt and Van der Merwe, taking us to a top 6. Geerje Coetzee not wrapped up the title just yet, but it's very close now. He beat out on Potgieter, Deploy, Van der Westhuizen and De Preux. That was the juniors. They've got 1 national championship round to go in a couple of months in Bloem. On this part of the show, we return to the desert just outside of Vryburg for round number 4, the 2nd day of a double header out for the national championship cross-country races, the best in the business, on 2 wheels out in the dust and bush of South Africa. The riders and bikes had taken some major punishment on day number 1. Day number 2 was going to be survival mode. Vian takes us through what was in store at round 4.
What have we got in store for day number 2? Can these guys make it to day number 2?
Yeah, I think fitness is going to be a big thing. The guys actually came back and said it got really choppy out there. It's not going to be any different for day 2. This train is sandy and it gets chopped up and really hooped out. But seniors, they've got a 55-kilometer loop for day 2. A little bit faster in some sections, not as many tight and twisties. Yes, there are, but not as many. But it's going to be a long day in the saddle for them. Doing it 2 days in a row, it gets tough, and the body is already aching after day 1, and now they have to do it all over again.
Doing a review, you were just walking down the pits and pretty stoked that there's no injuries and hardly any mechanicals.
Yeah, I know. I know about a bike that seized and a chain that came off and a dropper that went through a radiator, but that's, minor. We didn't have to go and collect anybody out there that got injured. Nothing was reported. So, perfect day. Definitely good if there's no injuries.
With the time trial in the morning session being moved out by an hour and all riders being able to see through the low sun and the dust wasn't too bad in the morning, it meant that gaps were going to be extremely tight Dav Cocker got the jump on the field, and then Mike Pentecost and Brad Cox were right next to each other just about as they headed out into the bush. They would be chased down by Kieran Fitzgerald and the brawler Ian Rawle, and then Lawrence Mahoney had a great qualifier inside of the top 6, setting himself up for a great day at the office. This was going to be testing though, and most riders would hit the wall after laps 2 or 3, where fatigue would become the word of the day. Some riders had major issues on day number 1 and would be doing the fight back to try and grab those all-important points at the last time of asking. As we've said before, on day number 1, as we introduced this doubleheader, you can win or lose a title over a long weekend. Nerves were jangling as they headed out onto the new course for day 2. In the Masters campaign, Anthony van der Walt had done a full rebuild on the Sherco 300 4-stroke machine and looked like his old self once again as he attacked the much more technical layout of day number 2 to arrive at the finish line. 3 laps counted in a number 5 spot. Carl Milizarou was on the lead lap though for the Masters campaign in 4th place, and then it was a 3-horse race out front with Wayne Farmer, Peter Hall and Kobus Jonk dicing elbows up pretty much the whole way through the day. But at the end of the day, Wayne Farmer had fueling issues. We caught up with him at the end of the day. We'll chat about that. He dropped down to a number 3 spot. Peter Hall just couldn't hang with the pace of Kobus Jonk, so the Kawasaki man settled for a number 2 spot, but also with that wrapped up his title. But it was Kobus Jonk who took an emphatic win on day number 2 in the desert to get his first ever national championship win of 2023. In the high schools, it was first to last just about for Derek Karam, a win on day number 1, and then mechanical issues dropping the Yamaha man down to a number 10 finish with only 2 laps scored and counted on day number 2. So Karam, his national championship campaign on day number 2 in the desert, coming to a grinding halt. Jean-Andre Vermaak was good enough to take it to a number 9 finish in his first season, stepping up to the national 125s. Cameron Farrell up to a number 8, and Alex Krobler putting on a great show, finishing just outside of the magical top 6 into a number 7 ride. Michael Struck, also having one of his best days in the desert, stayed on the lead lap. 125 screamers, 5 laps counted. That's a long day in the saddle. Rory Donaldson, one of the smaller and younger riders out there, figuring things out nicely, taking it to a number 5. And then Clarkey, consistent, rock solid as ever, wanted to be on the podium at least one of the days in the desert, just missed out with a number 4 spot this time around. But his times showed that he is going to be a big problem and a big threat to the rest of the riders in 2024. Tommy Scales, strong as ever, loves it tech, loves it fast, loves it wide open. Whatever it is, Tommy's your man for a podium. And he proved it once again with a number 3 spot. Luke Walker leading the national championship campaign on the 125s coming into the desert. Didn't have a bad day of the desert on day number 1 and a pretty good day on day number 2 as well. 2nd place, but there was one man just a little bit tastier, a little bit quicker, and that was Blake Young. Young had done an amazing run on the time trial in the morning to put himself inside of the top 10. And that's where he stayed most of the day as well. Put the dust into the face of Walker and ran out front to take his first ever 125 national championship win. Into the seniors then, and a great show put on once again by our Dakar stars, the lads that are heading to the big sand pits in January 2024. Dwayne Barnard and Ronnie Fenter out there both tagging 3 laps, and believe me, that is a huge brag as well. They loaded these bikes up with full complements of fuel to understand how much work it's going to be out in the desert. Great seat time, great laps put in by Barnard and Fenter. Marco Cocci, after a big lie down on day number 1, couldn't find his mojo on day number 2. Wasn't the layout of the track that suited his kind of flat out riding style. And the Shimwell's Yami man dropping down to a 4 spot. And he dropped off the lead lap as well, only counting 4 on the count. It was a 5-lap count though for the guys that made it inside of the top 3. These guys were absolutely ripping. Bernard Delport, a good comeback racing weekend for him. Podiums at day 1 and 2. For Lawrence Mahoney, he understood the value of a good time trial, positioned himself inside of the top 6, and pretty much stayed there the whole way through the day. Laurie back and banging on the National Championship Tour, taking a big number 2 spot. Fitz G though, there's no fighting against the thunder that is the factory KTM superstar. Another big win in the desert, and edging ever closer to yet another big number 1 plate on the orange machine. Fitzgerald, unstoppable, out at Vryburg.
Brother, I love watching you dance in the sand, but that was a long dance today.
I don't like dancing. Yeah, but it's not too sandy though. That's I was hoping it was going to be something similar to what last year was, but it's totally different. But same for everybody, and it was a long day. It was tough, I think. After the second lap, I hit the wall, and then towards the end, Lawrence started coming. Yeah, I put in a push on the last lap, and I managed just to stay ahead of him. So good-ish day.
Yeah, as you say, with the double headers, just survive, and then we can talk about a championship in a couple of months.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the double headers, to be honest with you. But it is what it is, and we finished now, and we can go home and relax, and we got Sunday to relax.
Laurie, all I can say is thanks for the show, man. That was proper old school racing.
Yeah, it was nice. It definitely helped starting in the front. I managed to get a good time trial in the morning, so that helped me start in front with the faster guys. So I got pulled along quite nicely, and then the first lap I got a bit of arm pump, and the track was fresh, so we had to be careful. And then after the second lap, I actually felt good, and I thought, let me just keep a consistent pace, and I managed to catch a few guys. So I had a good fun today. The bike was working amazing. Thanks to the team. I mean, they did an amazing job. Well done to the organisers, and it's nice to be back here in Vryburg.
Very short progression on the Honda, so there's kind of only one more step after this, isn't it?
No, look, I mean, a 3-year break and a new manufacturer. It took a while I'm still not where I want to be. So, but it's definitely improvement, and the fitness is there, the pace is there. So yeah, we've got one more national F for the year, so we'll start working for next year definitely.
Hey, Kobus, talk about survival. Hey, that must have felt like Dakar these last 2 days.
Yeah, I can't describe it. It was hectic. Yesterday was mad. It was really mad. It was so hard on the body. I don't relapsed. My energy was drained, and I hardly finished yesterday, and yeah, thanks to everybody, and I came back today, and it was a tough race between me, Peter, and Wayne. He just ran out of fuel now, but it was a nice the whole day. So, but thanks again to you guys, the organisers of the National Off-Road, and to Harry, the franchise co-sleepover, Chris, thank them all, Dr. Mark, and then my wife. Thanks a million for her supporting me. But thanks a million, and sorry about the dust. It was a bit dusty today.
Kom jong.
Boys, Peter, Wayne, tell me the story.
I got the time trial luckily, first out. But from there on, Kobus passed me, and I knew I can't keep up. If it's going to be race pace for 4 rounds, I would just not be able to keep up. So I let him go. And when I look around, Wayne was on my ass, and he was there the whole bloody time. 4 rounds, we were race pace all the time. No wonder he fell down at the start pushing his bike, running out of fuel. I mean, it was hectic. But yeah, I don't know, Wayne.
Yeah, well, and this man, dude, after the time trial, he pulled a bit of a gap. And then the dust was just crazy in the sand so thick out there. So yeah, we tried, we pushed. And then just before the finish of the first lap, Kobus was behind me. And then we didn't fill my bike properly on the lap. So I stopped. Again, they filled it. Kobus pulled away in front. Then he just went. And then yeah, third lap, I put the hammer down. Lekker. Saw this one in the distance. Closed up. But yeah, then the last lap, we just been flying. And just before the last straight, I thought the bike actually seized. And as we got in the corner, bike ran out of petrol. So yeah, I pushed about just over a kilometer. But we did, but we
Dude, the 125 gate this year is super tough. Tell me about the weekend, but especially that ride today.
Oh, this weekend was a tough weekend, especially the track. It was very rough. And this is my first year actually doing the cross-country series. So I was still getting used to like the length of the races and stuff because I ride motocross. So I was just trying to pace myself through the whole race. Yesterday was a bit tough, but I started getting into it at the end. And then today, since the morning, since time trial, I was on it, and I just stayed on it the whole day.
You know, you're running in the top 10 with the big dogs all day, hey? That must have felt good.
It felt really good. I was stressing. I was like, hearing the big 4 strokes behind me. But I just tried to stay on it and just keep to my lines, stick to my lines, hit my marks. And yeah, it was a good day.
So have we made a cross-country racer of you, or what?
It seems like it, yeah.
Let's confirm the results for the age group classes. Seniors, Fitz G once again winning out on Mahoney, but it was closer this time. Delport and Kochi and Fanta taking us to the top 5 for the Masters. It was Yonke on top. The Viking arrives for Honda, taking the win ahead of Hull and Farmer. But Hol wrapped up his national championship campaign here on day 2 in the desert. Young arrives on the top step for the first time, but Walker keeps his championship hopes alive with a strong number 2 spot ahead of Scales. The Masters title is wrapped. Seniors and high school take the championship to Bloem. For day number 2 in the desert, round number 4 of the national championship for cross-country motorcycles, it was all on the plate for the riders. But there was another race as well, and that was for manufacturer's title. We talked to the Big H, Big Harry.
Harry, it's day 2 in the desert in our language. Tell me how the first day went for you guys.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. It was the early start with the sun being in everyone's eyes. It was quite difficult, but all in all, I think we had a good day. Hard day, rough day. Unfortunately, we got an injured rider with Mike blowing his meniscus a couple of weeks ago. So he took some strain yesterday, but all in all, we had a good day.
Honda came into this doubleheader round leading the championship, and I know you've been pushing hard to get that championship. Things closed up big time at the end of yesterday, though.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. It's going to be, having the numbers in all the classes, but not having the best finishes. It's always going to be tough, but it's still 2 to go. So let's see. I hope today's going to be better.
1 or 2 titles were up for getting wrapped up. The OR1s, though, looks like it's going to go to the line. High attrition rate this time around. Top 6 once again. Johannes Jacobus van Rensburg getting it inside of the big numbers. 2 laps counted for him. Sharon Moore on the comeback trail after having radiator issues on day number 1. Day number 2 wasn't much better as well. Fueling issues this time around, as the big Husky ran out of juice, dropping down to a number 5 spot. That meant it was the highest ever national finish for the 1-1-2 of Charles Reinhard Kersop. He took us to 4th place. The top 3 in the OR1 bangers, though, made it inside of the top 10. Into the OR2s, Terry Lynn Hodge, very impressive young lady out there on the Sherco. Good at flat-out off-road, cross-country, enduro and tech. So she's making a big name for herself out there on the racing fields. 3 laps counted for her. Teek Harrower had a mare of a weekend. Lots of mechanical issues, problems with suspension throughout the day on day number 1, and they appeared once again on day number 2, dropping him down on the MCA Gas 2 and number 6. Francois van der Favre then jumped up inside the top 5. Like we said in the desert, if you bring home finishes on both days, you could jump up in the championship rankings. Jean Niebuhr had a good day on day number 1 and not a bad day on day number 2, but just could not find the magic that he has in his back pocket to climb the ladder inside the top 3 for Vryburg Racing. The top 3 was all about Leah Haygate. She now jumps up and takes her first ever OR3 national podium. Scotty Haygate, who does race on the same gate, unfortunately popping his shoulder out, and that would be him on the sideline. A no-show for day number 2 and also out of the championship. Haygate, incredible in 3rd place, as well as Kyle Egger, one of the most consistent riders out there, breaking into a top 2. First place in the OR2s was Cocker, and he made it once again inside of the top 10. For the OR3 category, it did seem like day number 2 was better for the smaller bikes, staying on top of the bumps, on top of the thicker parts of the sand, and able to just spin her up. Tyron Peltzer, who's been a good standout rider, starting to develop into a national championship campaigner, took a number 10 ride with Sander van der Linden, one of the local superstars, to a number 9 spot, and John Boy Buerta also showing signs of fatigue on day number 1 and then again on day number 2. 8th place this time around, as in the early stages, him and Peltzer were joined at the hip as they were on day number 1. Miles Crooks got himself up there inside of a number 7 and had a good day at the office, and Hayden Cole looked like he was super tired out there on day number 2 in the desert. The man who just 2 months ago walked away with his first ever national win did not look like the same rider out in the sandpit. Noah Martins, though, a fellow KZN Charger, got his best ever finish with a number 5. The top 4, though, in the OR3s were in the magical top 10. We'll start with those guys. Ryan Peltzer taking a number 10 spot overall and 4th place in the OR3s. Good run of form for him, as he did do a much better time trial on day number 2, and that set him up perfectly to run with the big dogs out front. Tyron Beverly, standout ride on day number 2, definitely toughed things out, climbed the ladder, got a number 9 spot in the overalls, and his first ever national championship podium with 3rd place in the OR3s. Just up the road from him is the man that's running number 2 spot on most days at the moment in the OR3s, 8th place overall, Merry Man, riding out of the Bikers Warehouse on the Honda. Solid and consistent as ever. Good numbers on the page coming out of the desert. But it was Matty Wilson that walked away with 2 wins on the bounce. And that's going to see him possibly be able to challenge his way to a top spot. It's going to come down in the championship to the final round. But for now, Wilson is doing it all right. Up the road from him, we start to talk about some of the big bangers. Majority of these guys out there on the Big Dog 450. Ian Rawle, 6th place overall. 3rd place, 2 days on the bounce in the OR1 Big Bangers. On the freshie that is the MCA Gas 450. Brawler was definitely back into full attack mode once again. After an amazing qualifier in the morning session and a good run of pace the day before, Lawrence Mahoney walks away with his highest ever national championship overall in a few years. 5th place in the overalls, 2nd in the seniors, and not far off the win this time around. Separated by only 1 position on the track, Kieran Fitzgerald takes another top 5 in the overalls, 4th place this time around, and yet another win in the seniors. Kieran's definitely staring down the barrel of a big number 1 spot. Brad Cox, who has won almost everything he has touched this season, took a small beat on day number 2 in the desert. He doesn't like losing out. It was the 3rd in the overalls and 2nd in the OR1 Big Bangers. That keeps him in the championship points lead, but he doesn't like to lose. He lost out in the OR1s to this rider, Mike Pentecost, who was on an absolute burner on day number 2, suffering with knee issues the whole way through the race weekend, but somehow managing to survive out there. And at one point looked like he was going to win the overall as well. 2nd on the day to this rider. Dav Cocker, simply unstoppable. Stomach issues the day before, but that didn't hold him back from the win. No issues on day number 2. Cocker and the SA Factory Husqvarna 350 winning out in the overalls both days in the desert and both days in the OR2 category. Cocker simply unstoppable, and this win in the desert wrapped up his title. It's a big number 1 spot. He cannot be caught. He is the man, as he has been the whole way through the season.
It was really, really tough. I enjoyed the track a lot, but it got really, really rough towards the end. So I had to keep it solid the whole way. I made a few mistakes, and Mike was there the whole day to keep me honest, but managed to get it through home to the end, and good ride today. I'm happy with my result. Yeah, no, that's my first double-header win on both days, in R2 and overall championship, so I'm happy with it, and I'm excited for any more.
No, look, all glory to the Lord Almighty. I prayed, I sat last night. I actually almost pulled out yesterday because of my knee. I got a torn meniscus in the knee, and popped some painkillers and ate some cement for breakfast and gave it a good go today. Yeah, no, we were chasing each other. Every fence line we could see each other. So, it really made us. I mean, I was pushing, he was trying to keep the gap. It was a really, really tough day. No, for sure. Look, I really did want that overall, but considering it was a great day, I'm happy with the outcome. Big thanks to the team, everyone, Harry, all his support and input, TLD Designs, my awesome gear. Thanks guys.
Yeah, no, I mean, this weekend's been really positive. Yesterday was strong for me today. Yeah, I struggled there, honestly. I think this is the first race and I don't know how long we have really just struggled. It's had no real power, no real energy, so maybe it's got to do with all the traveling I've been doing. Who knows? But happy to be here in the end. Tell you what, 3rd overall is better than 4th overall, and 2nd in class today. Not too many points lost. Good. Park was amazing. Team was great, and I got a bit of a break. Focus on the rally stuff now, and then come back for wherever the last round is in September, and hopefully wrap up this OR1 title.
Definitely, yeah. It was hard work. I didn't come in with big expectations, to say the least. I just rode my race, did what I had to do, and push where I could, and just floated where it's dangerous. So, but today I have to say I felt it in time trial. Yes, I was on it. Really felt the flow. I was like, today's going to be a good day. After lap 3, my tank was empty, but I had some good dashes. It was awesome. Yes, definitely. Luckily, I've been on the Austrian bikes most of my life, so when I got onto this machine, it was instant gelling with it. Still some. I didn't do any testing. I literally Justin from CycleWorks threw in the Olins, and I was like, okay, let's go racing. So it's so cool. yeah, I just want to thank MCA and Fast Gas for sorting me out with everything, and Mark Henderson for the Dunlops. Yes, this is unbelievable. I did literally the GXCC and both of these days with the same front MX-33. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, today was a good day. I won't lie. It was a fast day. A lot of straights. My KTM 250 XCF, she ran like a beaut. I couldn't ask for anything more. I felt a lot better today than yesterday, surprisingly. I think the track held up a little bit better today. It was very, very sandy today, I won't lie. But no, I had a great race. I didn't lay it down once and couldn't be more stoked with coming away with wins. Yeah, I started with Lawrence Mahoney, got an awesome time trial. He started in front of me. And then I caught him past him, and then second lap, his 450 came hauling ass past me. But yeah, no, I had a great race with Lawrence. Eric, he was on it today, and yeah, glad we all came home safe, and thank you to the Nationals crew. I'm just going to try carry on doing what I'm doing. I'm going to try, I don't know how close we are in the championship anymore, because yeah, the first 2 rounds didn't go too well. But we're going to just go out and try win it and see what the rest of the field does and see who we come home with it.
Yeah, I caught up to Matthew in the morning, but he quickly left me and I never saw him again. And then as I got tired, Tyron Beverly started catching me, so I had to pick it up again. But yeah, I'm finished. It was a very tough day.
Yeah, it's good to come to the sand. It's been a while since I felt this good on a bike and this strong physically and everything. Today was a man's race. 2 days in a row is always challenging. And with the stress we had this week with some issues with the bike, getting it ready, I can't thank the team enough. Honda South Africa, everyone. It's been a huge effort just to get here. It's been a stressful week, but we're here and I can't thank anyone enough. It was great. Yeah, my first ever national podium. It's been a few years. I can't thank my dad and everyone behind me enough. Feels like it's been a long time coming.
No, very rough, but good track, good 2 days of racing, and happy with my third yesterday and second today. It takes a lot, eh? Yesterday I may have pushed a bit too hard. Came in today sore, had a few blisters on the hands and that. And then, yeah, I think on the 4th lap blisters started popping, so was in survival mode from about lap 3. But yeah, was good. Bikes get hammered. Spokes snap. I snapped 4 spokes, so yeah, bike get hammered. You have to look after them pretty well, yeah. Yeah, 100%. Hopefully the last one's a bit faster and get to use the gearbox a bit more.
So checking out the overalls, it was Cocker who was the main man on the day, but a good mixture of different categories and riders starting to come good in the championship, and day number 4 gave us some amazing results. Check out Mahoney and Fitzgerald, 2 seniors inside of the top 5. In the OR1 Big Bangers, Mike Pentecost arrives on the top shelf, but he's going to pay for that one. He was in huge pain at the end of that race with his knee. Cox in the number 2 spot remains in charge of the OR1 championship. In the OR2s, Cocker on top as he took the overall and a OR2 championship at round number 2 in the desert, beating out on Egger and Leah Haygate, first lady ever to walk away with a podium in the OR2s at the Nationals. OR3s was all about Matty Wilson starting to climb the ladder. He's paying the price for a couple of bad results at the beginning of the season, but he's making up for it now. So that's us. It's job done for rounds 3 and 4 of the National Cross Country Championship with 1 round to go. This has been a double header. It's asked everything of body, bike, mind and soul. But as always, with these events, the cream rises to the top. I've been Matt Hollywood Smith and we brought you all the action from rounds 3 and 4 out at the desert. Stay tuned for more action from SpeedTV. So with that in mind, obviously you can see a couple of the championships did get wrapped up. We actually nailed down in the 85s, it was Murray Smith. In the 65s, it was Here Kutsia. He got his first number 1 plate. And of course, Dav got it done. I mean, the guy is on fire this year on that Husqvarna, nails down the OR2 championship, and Big Peter Hall wrapped up the Masters, which leaves us with the OR1 Big Bangers, the OR3 2 Fitties, and of course the seniors and 125s. So that's going to be our focus point on the show going forward. So watch out for the press for that. But Bloemfontein was an absolute perler, created some drama as well. But I'm not going to give the game away. You got to watch the shows, and that's going to be going out on MTN's SpeedTV platform. For now, it's been a crazy couple of weeks. Stay tuned, guys. There's plenty more to come. Laters.